I thought I would do a live to talk a little bit about kind of the impact of seeing the hostages come back, what it means, and why, among my Jewish friends, it's kind of like no one asks how you're doing right now. It's kind of like, how are you processing? How deeply are you impacted by what's going on? And for many of us, it's a lot. So I thought that I would do a live with my friend who incredibly just an incredible source of information in helping process. So, hello,
Hey,
hello, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you holding up?
Thank God, I'm doing okay. I was just saying, a lot of people may be confused as to sort of why it's not so simple as we have a ceasefire, and it's not so simple as hostages are coming home. The complexity surrounding the return of hostages is incredibly fraught. And one of the things that I thought I would share, and maybe you can elaborate on, is um, with the ceasefire in place and this first phase in place, we have a calendar of when people are released in this first phase. And very predictably, the night before, because for us, nighttime is early morning in Israel, um, many of us are reporting we don't really sleep. We're kind of like up checking our phones throughout the night. And I think a lot of people may not relate, and I think there's a lot of Jews who may not relate. But for me, it feels, it feels like something I need to monitor. I need to monitor. I want to see them. I want to see these. In many cases, these are kids. These are teenagers. These are the female soldiers who were released. Some of them had only been on duty for 2 days before October 7th when they were kidnapped and have been held for almost 500 days. Can you talk a little bit about sort of what this is to the global Jewish community for people who may not understand? Like, why are we glued to our TVs? Why are many of us obsessed about wanting to see every detail? And here's them with their sister. Like, yeah. Explain a little bit the framework of the global Jewish community.
Yeah, and I think you really nailed it with we really feel like this is our family. This is people that we've seen on our screen. We've advocated for their release for so long. It's reminiscence of the day that they were kidnapped for
Mm,
a lot of us. We're feeling the same pain. We're
mm,
seeing the same images of those young girls that, as you said, a few of them were a couple of days in military service, and then they were kidnapped. They're 19, 20 years old today, was released. Think about your friends and people around you that are 20 years old. Think about them being held for 482 days. In today, we've heard from a few of the hostages that they were held in tunnels underground with little food. They haven't seen anyone other than this man that were holding guns at their face. Hearing the news that they were executing hostages, fearing for their lives, and to see them for the first time, to see them going out in daylight and are headed towards freedom. I think it's something that touches us in the in our very fiber of who we are, because this hostage deal is not. I don't think anyone, any Israeli or Jewish person that cares about this would say that it's a good deal, right? Because we are releasing some criminals, and we are releasing many criminals, people that have, no matter your position on this conflict, like people that took lives of innocents.
mm.
One of them was killing children, and that's why he's in prison. And we're releasing them because of how much we care about those lives. We're going to this extent because we feel so connected that those are our girls, those are our family members that have been taken from us, stolen from us.
And people are posting. People may not know. Yeah, there are still hostages. Five Thai workers were released. Five citizens of Thailand were released yesterday. This is one of the aspects that I think a lot of people don't know about. Many people are very quick to say, I don't know, these people look healthy. And if Israel hadn't been occupying Gaza, this wouldn't have happened, which obviously Israel has not occupied Gaza for decades. And the issues surrounding October 7th and the attack on a music festival and on largely peacenik communities on the Israeli side of the border is besides the point. But a lot of people don't know that dozens of people were kidnapped. Five were released yesterday. Many people don't understand Israel is a metropolitan community. There are people from all over the world who live in Israel. There are people who come from Thailand, from the Philippines, from Africa, from all over the world to live in Israel. Many of them are agricultural workers. There were some heartbreaking stories of caregivers for people with Parkinson's and dementia who were killed alongside the people that they were taking care of. So many people think of like, oh, Israel's like this far off place. It's in the Middle East. It's in a jumble of places that I don't know anything about. Maybe, look up a little bit about what the economy of Israel is like, what the startup nation aspect of Israel is like. There are foreign workers who work there, who speak Hebrew, who enjoy their lives there, and dozens were kidnapped along with native Israelis. So 5 were released yesterday. Can you talk a little bit about the profile of the remaining hostages?
Yeah, the five were released this morning in Israel time, and there's another three Thai hostages that are being held. There's one from Nepal that is being held as well.
That's
I think
right.
another agricultural
Who
worker.
was a student
Um,
also, I believe. Yeah.
yes, exactly. And I believe there's another one that is held hostage. And today Hamas released a statement saying that they were kidnapped by mistake because of the chaos of October 7th, which okay, you kidnapped them by mistake, but why are you holding them for over 482 days in your
Hmm.
tunnels? They're obviously being held there for a reason. And the other important point is that many of those hostages, the Israeli ones, have dual citizenships, and they Americans and Israelis. We
Yep.
still have an American Israeli held in captivity. There's a Russian Israeli held in captivity,
Hmm.
and
And
when we think of
there are still Arab and Druze and I believe Muslim hostages being held as well.
right.
So yeah, people were all kidnapped together, and it has been almost 500 days.
Yeah,
Yes.
there was a Muslim girl that was held in captivity. There was Bedouins that were executed in captivity.
Hmm.
We, it's not just about Jews. I mean, of course, Hamas's statement is that they want to kill all Jews, but it's not. It's really not just Jews that have suffered from it. And as you said, Israel is such a multicultural place and it's so diverse that inside Israel, inside the Green Lines, Israel, you have 2 million Israeli Muslims, are Arabs that have been victimized by the October
Yep.
7th attacks and
That's
since
right.
then and are still held in captivity. So when people tell you it's a black and white topic and there's only two sides and there's no nuance, don't believe them and understand that
Yep.
it's much more complicated, and that I think it's not Israel versus Palestine, it's not Jews versus Muslims, it's people that want freedom and people that want life and cherish life, and another side that is not Palestinians, it's Hamas and it's the
Hmm.
Islamic Jihad, another terrorist organization. There are several terrorist organizations that we've seen today that were engaging in this hostage release. It's much more complicated than a hashtag and a trendy emoji in your profile. It's real life here, and people just need to be more understanding of it.
Yeah, the thing that's sort of maddening and that will make you lose your mind if you try and, fight about these things on the internet. These, no matter how happy or healthy these hostages look when they are released, no matter how much they are made to wave, wear clothing that makes them look like they were kidnapped as soldiers. They were, girls sleeping in their pajamas who were kidnapped. But no matter, kind of what you see. Um, I don't know why Jews are the only population that people don't believe. When hostages come out and they tell you, I was raped, I was tortured, I was hung by my feet and beaten with wires, when they tell us that they were given no food, I mean, they were, I don't know why we have to sort of like dress it up and give you the diet that they were fed. Like, oh, they had one pita a day, maybe that's enough. These were people who were kidnapped by terrorists and held underground. To me, that's all the information that people need to hear. And yet, I encourage people not to fight with people on the internet, and many of them are bots. But no matter how much they're smiling when they see their family, this is called trauma. They were kidnapped and held for 480 some days by people threatening them with guns. When you see the handover, and it is done in a mob of hundreds and thousands of people waving weapons in their face. And the Red Cross is like, sorry, we don't know what we can do about it. It's okay to be outraged, And I think like that's what I wanted to sort of have you, kind of talk about. And it's okay to be outraged that every women's organization who stands up for all of the rights of every marginalized people, where is the condemnation for the way these women have been treated, even as they were returned to their native country? It's silent.
Yeah. It really is, and it's like yourself and so many of us. I mean, Jews in America that are supporting equality and have stood up with every marginalized community, not because it's transactional, because it's the right thing to do. That's what we do because we are also a marginalized community. We are
Correct.
also less than 2% of the American population, and we have been targeted by the far right, and we are now seeing the deafening silence and worse from the far left, and I think that's what is shattering for so many Jews right now, that the people that we thought would speak up are silent. That the Red Cross is saying things like today they said that they can't control the release of the hostages. They can't control the fact that a 20-year-old girl is being led with with armed men pointing a weapon at her, telling her to wave. We've seen the videos, behaving like she's a doll, a puppet, and there's deafening silence, and it's soul crashing because we truly believe that I truly believe that when push comes to shove, when we will need the left will need the progressive communities that I'm part of as a queer Jewish half Iraqi, half Tunisian Israeli son of refugees that has supported every cause because it matters to me and it affects me personally. I thought that they would stand with me as well. I thought that they would speak up when they see that. I thought that women organization, and it's very hard for me as a man to speak about women rights, but I feel like those girls are being silenced. No one is speaking up for them. And
Yep.
there's excuses from the Red Cross. We can't do anything. You can. You have been campaigning to end the war in Gaza. You have been campaigning for a ceasefire. You know how to campaign when you want to. Why aren't we speaking about those 20-year-old girls that have clearly, and it doesn't matter how they look. And by the way, we know from testimonies later on that Hamas is feeding them a few days before the release. They're giving them more nutritious food.
Hmm.
They even drugged many of them in many cases of the
Yep.
release because they wanted them to appear more happy. They forced them to smile. They said, if you're not smiling, terrible things are going to happen to you. You know that your friends are still in captivity. What would you do? Would you not smile? I mean, asking our viewers.
It's yeah. It's unreal. I mean, I think, and also, a conversation for another time, and I hope we can have more conversations. Um, this is not a time to politicize. When we talk about the left, we're talking about a larger kind of sociological concern. We're not talking about, all the sort of people who are like, serves you right for being a liberal. That's not what this is about.
Right.
And I'll be honest, President Trump saying release the hostages or else, apparently that was an important sentence. I'm glad he said it. But that also does not give us license to say, screw all the people who are not like us. We don't care about anybody else's human rights. We don't have the right to do that. And that's not what politics is for right now. So I think we also have to be really careful that we keep emphasizing there can be coexistence between people who feel differently and believe differently, as long as you are asking the Israeli people to make peace with an organization that declares that the purpose of their existence is to deny Israel the right to exist. There, like in shalom, there is not peace there, but we have to believe our national anthem is the hope, hatikva, that there will one day be a way. We cannot shut down the belief and the hope that we have to figure this out. We have to, and we will, but we also don't need to lie. We don't need to deny what's going on. And we don't need to be silent and say that it's okay that the United Nations and Amnesty International, every organization is very busy condemning Israel for existing. And yet, when this happens, it is radio silence. It's not okay. Ain shalom.
And shalom, but we want shalom. And what was that quote from Golda? That our secret weapon is that we don't have anywhere else to go.
That's right.
That's the reality. And the Palestinians have nowhere else to go. And even if I heard that there's some plans on moving populations, I don't think that's going to work. But even if they're moving and coming back, at the end of the day, this is our land, both of our
Correct.
lands. We've both lived there. It doesn't matter if we came before them and they came later and we were forced out and we came. We don't need to get into this argument because we both have roots and deep roots to this land, and we need to
Correct.
figure out a way to live together. And it's the same as you said, like with I condemn, I don't condemn, but I speak about those organizations and I criticize them and I criticize the left because I'm part of the left, and I feel like this is where my power, my voice matters most, because this is my camp.
Yep.
And I think also with the Palestinians, we can be critical of some organizations, we can be critical of some Israeli politicians and some statements, without, not throwing the baby out with the water, and and still advocating for peace, which is really what we all want. That's the the good side
Cor-
of this conflict on
Correct.
both sides, is the side that supports peace.
Correct. Hen, thank you so much for talking and for all of the work that you do. I know you've been up since very early watching the hostages that were returned yesterday/today. So thank you for all that you do, and I really appreciate this conversation. And I hope that people will share it, because I think that there's a lot of misinformation, disinformation, and you bring a lot of clarity. So thank you so much.
Thank you. You are amazing. I mean, I just told my cousin in Israel that I'm going on live with you, and she said, "Oh, I love her. She's doing so much for the Jewish
Oh,
people."
that's wonderful. Well, there
Thank
is
you.
more work to be
Yeah.
done. Am Yisrael Chai. Take care.